Welcome back to Star Wars Fanatic. Yeah, it's a sad day. We've lost James Earl Jones. Ah, man. He lived a long life and a good life. So, my condolences to him and his family and his friends. But anyways, welcome back to Star Wars Fanatic, your ultimate source for in-depth analysis, breakdowns, and everything Star Wars. Today we're going to explore one of the most emotionally resonant and layered characters in the Disney Plus Star Wars Andor series, Maarva Andor. Marva isn't just a Cassian Andor's adopted mother. She's a symbol of quiet rebellion and personal sacrifice in the face of overwhelming oppression. In this extended character analysis, we'll examine her decision to take Casa from Kenari and the moral implications of that act. We'll also uncover the mysterious secrecy of the Daughters of Ferrix, the deeply personal impact of losing her husband Clem, and how Marva's revolutionary spirit was slowly revealed throughout the series. Finally, we'll delve into the profound effect of her posthumous speech, a call to arms that shaped the future of Ferrix's fight against the Empire. This analysis will provide insight not only into Maarva Andor's journey, but also into the broader themes of rebellion, sacrifice, and resistance that are central to Andor and the Star Wars universe. If you're a fan of Andor, Rogue One, or just love digging deep into the characters that make Star Wars the rich universe it is, then this is the video for you. And if Star Wars and Andor are your thing, then you're in the right place. I mean, why wouldn't you be here if you didn't love Star Wars? Be that as it may, go on and hit the subscribe button and give the video a like. I promise this is more fun than eating an entire jar of mayonnaise with chopsticks. I think anything pretty much is more fun than that. But I think you catch my drift. Alright, let's start by understanding Maarva Andor as a character and the role she plays in the Andor series. Marva isn't a warrior, a Jedi, or even a political leader in the way we traditionally think of characters in Star Wars. Instead, she represents the ordinary people caught in the expanding grip of the Empire, the silent majority who suffer in the shadows, but whose resistance can become the spark for greater rebellion. As Cassian's adopted mother, Marva had a profound influence on his life, but what makes her character so compelling is that, much like Cassian, she's a product of her environment. Ferrix, where Marva raised Cassian, is a planet largely outside the Empire's direct control at the beginning of the series, allowing her to live a somewhat peaceful life. However, the seeds of her resistance are always there. Ferrix's communal, tight-knit nature is both a source of strength and vulnerability when the Empire inevitably invades. Marva stands as a symbol of that community spirit. Now, when we think about Marva's development over the series, it's important to remember that much of her revolutionary fervor is understated for most of the show. The creators of Andor do an excellent job of presenting her as a quiet, grieving widow who remains on the periphery of the main story until it is her time to step into the spotlight. Unlike some Star Wars characters whose heroic or villainous arcs are evident from the beginning, Marva is a slow burn character. We see glimpses of her rebellious nature through her actions and words, but it isn't until much later in the series that we fully understand the weight of her revolutionary spirit. Now, I'd like to take a moment just to talk about how Marva is visualized in Andor. In the beginning, she finds Casa, aka Cassian, on Kenari. She is seen in a light-filled crashed spacecraft, but throughout the rest of the series, she's shown in a dimly lit room. The appearance and lighting on Kenari signifies there is much light and life left in her. However, the dimly lit room, the rundown B2 emo of her later years, depicts an aging woman in the twilight of her life, telling us subtly that she isn't going to be around much longer, giving so much depth to her character and foreshadowing her death without saying it outright. Now, one of the most significant moments in Maarva Andor's backstory is her decision to take Casa, or Cassian, from Kenari. a choice that fundamentally alters Cassian's life, of course. This act is complex, controversial, and central to the entire Andor series. It's a decision that shaped who Cassian became, a man disconnected from his past, always searching for a place to belong and searching for that lost familial unit, a theme that resonates throughout his journey. When Marva and her husband Clem discover Cassa, later named Cassian, on Kenari, he's just a child. Marva, ever the pragmatist, sees the immediate danger. Kenari had just been ravaged by the fallout of the crashed ship, and Marva knew that the Republic would likely eliminate any witnesses to cover their tracks, putting a darker light on how we view the Republic during the height of the Jedi Order. From her perspective, taking Cassa with them was a necessary act of mercy. She believed that by removing him from the danger of Kenari, she was giving him a chance at survival. But this decision is far from black and white. From a moral standpoint, it's easy to see why some fans view this as a form of abduction. Marva didn't consult Cassa. She made the decision for him, severing him from his people, his sister, his language, and his home. In doing so, she set him on a path of exile and identity loss that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Throughout Andor, Cassian struggles with feelings of displacement, never quite able to reconcile his present with his unknown past. The fact that Marva made this decision without Cassa's consent raises serious ethical questions, ones that echo throughout the series. And that isn't to say Marva's bad, her intentions were good. Was Marva truly acting in Cassa's best interest, or was this an impulsive decision driven by her fear of what the Republic might do? Did she truly understand the gravity of the emotional scars she was inflicting on the boy, or was she solely focused on the immediate threat? These are the kinds of moral ambiguities that Andor excels at exploring, making it one of the most complex series in the Star Wars franchise. This decision also plays into the core themes of Andor, the idea of personal sacrifice for the greater good. Throughout the series, we see characters faced with impossible choices, often having to sacrifice something precious to them in order to resist the Empire. For Marva, taking Cassa was a personal sacrifice of a different kind. She gave him a new life, but in doing so took away his old one. In this duality, that makes her such an intriguing character. One of the fascinating layers of Marva's character is her connection to the Daughters of Ferrix, a secretive group operating within the shadows of Ferrix's society, a social group. While this organization is never explicitly explained in Andor, there are subtle hints that Marva was deeply involved in activities that went beyond the eyes of the Empire, and even beyond the knowledge of her son Cassian. And speaking of which, isn't it odd that Cassian never calls her mom or mother or mum or whatever you guys call your mothers? Maybe he never had that respect for her, or maybe he had a higher respect for her by calling her by her name. In the broader Star Wars universe, secretive revolutionary movements like the Daughters of Ferrix are not uncommon, but the specifics of their operations remain shrouded in mystery. Ferrix, being on the edge of the Empire's immediate control, provided the perfect cover for these kinds of underground organizations. Marva, with her careful and calculated demeanor, was undoubtedly a key in keeping these operations under wraps. But why did Marva keep the existence of the Daughters of Ferrix secret from Cassian? One possible reason is that she understood the immense danger involved. Cassian, while resourceful and a problem maker of his own, was constantly skirting the edges of trouble with his illegal activities and anti-imperial sentiment. By keeping him in the dark, Marva may have been trying to shield him from a larger, more dangerous world than could have pulled him in too early, before he was ready to be fully embraced by the cause of the rebellion. Moreover, this secrecy highlights one of the underlying tensions in Marva's relationship with Cassian, the balance between protecting her son and preparing him for the harsh realities of the galaxy. Marva was a survivor. She knew what it took to live under Imperial rule without drawing too much attention. Yet at the same time, she was slowly awakening to the fact that survival alone wasn't enough, that at some point the people of the galaxy would have to rise up and fight back. In this sense, Marva's silence about the daughters of Ferrix is emblematic of her cautious approach to revolution. She was playing a long game, waiting for the right moment to act. This theme of waiting, of quiet resistance simmering beneath the surface, runs throughout Andor. Characters like Marva understand that rebellion isn't just about charging into battle. It's about knowing when to act and when to bide your time. The death of Clem Andor, Marva's husband, is one of the most pivotal moments in her life and a key turning point for her character in Andor. Before Clem's execution, Marva was primarily focused on survival. Like many people living under the Empire's growing shadow, her goal was to keep her head down and protect her family. However, Clem's death changes everything for her. Clem's death wasn't just a personal loss for Marva. It was a brutal reminder of the Empire's indiscriminate cruelty. Executed in public, Clem's death was meant to serve as a warning to the people of Ferrix, a reminder of what happens when you stand up to Imperial authority. For Marva, it was that moment when the Empire's oppression became personal. No longer was she just a bystander. She was now a grieving widow with a vendetta against the very system that had taken her husband from her. Marva's reaction to Clem's death is a crucial turning point in her journey toward becoming a revolutionary. Before this, she may have been content to live a quiet life on Ferrix, but after Clem's death, she can no longer ignore the brutality of the Empire. His execution shattered any illusions she may have had about coexisting peacefully under Empire rule. From this moment on, Marva's path was set. She was eventually become part of the resistance, even if it meant risking her life, and even if it meant just in the smallest of ways. What's particularly interesting about this shift is that Marva doesn't immediately become an outspoken rebel. Instead, she internalizes her grief and anger, letting it simmer beneath the surface. This is why her revolutionary activities remain so covert for most of the series. Marva understands that openly defying the Empire would not only put her life at risk, but also endanger those around her, including Cassian Andor. Instead of lashing out in the heat of the moment, she chooses to play the long game, waiting for the right time to act. In this way, Marva's character embodies one of the central themes of Andor, the idea that revolution is often born out of personal tragedy, and that the path to rebellion is one of patience and strategy. Clem's death also has a profound impact on Cassian Andor. This protective instinct reflects Marva's ongoing struggle to balance her roles as both a mother and a budding revolutionary. On one hand, she wants to keep Cassian safe from the harsh realities of the Empire, but on the other, she knows that the time will come when he must confront those realities himself. This internal conflict adds a layer of complexity to Marva's character, making her one of the most fascinating figures in the series. The Empire's execution of Clem also serves as a microcosm of its larger strategy of control through fear. Clem's death is meant to send a message to the people of Ferrix. Resistance will be met with violence. But for Marva, this event has the opposite effect. Rather than cowing her into submission, Clem's execution strengthens her resolve. In this way, Clem's death becomes a catalyst for Marva's transformation into the revolutionary figure we see at the end of the series. One of the most brilliant aspects of Andor is how it teases Marva's revolutionary spirit through the series without fully revealing it until the final episodes. For much of the show, Marva is portrayed as a grieving widow and a loving mother, quietly living out her days on Ferrix in the dimly lit room we talked about earlier. She's not overly involved in the rebellion, and she doesn't engage in any major acts of defiance against the Empire, at least not on the surface. However, there are subtle hints that Marva has been involved in the resistance for some time. Her decision to remain on Ferrix, even as the Empire tightens its grip on the planet, is one such hint. While Cassian urges her to leave for her own safety, Marva refuses. She understands that leaving would be an act of submission, a surrender to the Empire's control. By staying, she's making a silent statement of defiance. Marva's revolutionary spirit is also hinted at in the interactions with the other characters. Throughout the series, she speaks of the Empire with a quiet disdain, and her refusal to give in to fear is a recurring theme. But it's not until her posthumous speech that we see the full extent of her commitment to the cause of rebellion. In her final moments, Marva delivers a powerful message to the people of Ferrix, urging them to rise up and fight back against the Empire. Although I've heard there were other words used other than fight the Empire. If you can think of another F word that would fit in there. Anyways, this speech is one of the most significant moments in Andor, not just for the character of Marva, but for the entire series. It's a turning point and galvanizes the people of Ferrix and sets the stage for the larger rebellion that will ultimately lead to the events of Rogue One and A New Hope. Marva's words resonate not only with the people of Ferrix, but with the audience as well. Her speech is a reminder that even the smallest acts of resistance can have a profound impact, and that the fight for freedom often begins with the most unlikely of heroes. I've done a whole video on her speech about this. If you'd like to see it, check out my Andor playlist. Maarva Andor's legacy in Andor and the larger Star Wars universe is one that transcends her role as Cassian Andor's adopted mother. While she may not wield a blaster or lightsaber or command troops, her actions and, more importantly, her words have a profound impact on the people of Ferrix and the broader rebellion against the Empire. In many ways, Marva represents the everyday people who are often overlooked in the grand scope of the Star Wars saga. She's not a Jedi, she's not a politician, and she's not a warrior. But it's precisely because of this that her character is so important. Marva shows us that rebellion doesn't just come from those on the front lines. It comes from people like her, people who have experienced loss and suffering, who are tired of it, but who refuse to be broken by it. Her decision to take Casa from Kenari, while controversial, ultimately sets Cassian on a path that will lead him to become one of the key figures in the Rebel Alliance, and ultimately helping get the plans for the Death Star. Her involvement in the secretive Daughters of Ferrix hints at a deeper resistance movement on the planet, one that likely played a role in the early days of the rebellion against the Empire. And of course, her final speech serves as the catalyst for the uprising on Ferrix, a moment that will be remembered as a turning point in the fight against Imperial tyranny. Marva's story is one of quiet resistance, personal sacrifice, and eventual revolution. She may not have lived to see the full fruits of her labor, but her legacy lives on through the people of Ferrix and through her son, Cassian Andor. In this sense, Marva is not just a supporting character in Andor. She's one of the most important figures in the early days of the rebellion, a reminder that even the smallest acts of defiance can lead to galaxy-wide change. Alright, to wrap it up, Maarva Andor's character arc is one of the most intricate and emotionally charged in Andor, and her influence extends far beyond the borders of Ferrix. From her controversial decisions to adopt Casa, or take him, to her quiet involvement in the underground resistance, to her final act of defiance through her speech, Marva represents the everyday heroism that defines the Star Wars universe. And what a wonderful character she is. What makes Maarva Andor so compelling is her reliability. She isn't larger than life like many Star Wars characters, but that's precisely what makes her revolutionary spirit so impactful. She's a reminder that a rebellion is often born out of personal loss, and that even the most unassuming figures can play a crucial role in shaping the course of galactic events. All right. Thank you for joining me for this in-depth exploration of Maarva Andor. If you have enjoyed this video, make sure you like it, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave me a comment down below if there's any character in Andor you'd like me to do another in-depth analysis on. I could talk about this Andor series for a year every day and still not hit every piece of it that needs to be hit. There's so much in it. It's such a deep show. But let me know down below what you'd like to see, and I'll see what I can do for you. Until then, this is Gerald, a Star Wars fanatic, signing off, wishing you all great health, happiness, and peace. May the Force be with you.